Welcome, welcome. Come on in and settle down because we're here to answer some questions today. I've got a lot of questions that were sent to me beforehand. I'll be trying to answer as many questions from the chat as well. So share your questions, share your experience, whatever you want me to respond to in the chat. And let's get it started. I see someone already posted in the chat. I'll start with that one. If one needs to regain sensitivity after losing it due to prone masturbation, and another masturbation method is not an option, would intercourse with or without condoms be better? Does it matter? So, probably the most important factor to recovering your sensitivity is time. It's going to be time without porn, of course, and sounds like without any masturbation at all is what you've decided on. And after you've had enough time or you're ready to start rewiring and practicing intimacy and finding out if you can enjoy the touch of someone else, enjoy intercourse, whether you do it with or without a condom, I think the more important question you should be asking on whether to use a condom is like, is that the safer thing? Am I having casual sex with someone I'm not in an exclusive relationship with? Then yeah, you should use a condom. It will still be possible to get to the point where you can enjoy sex and you can rewire with the condom. It might be a little bit more difficult because it will take a little bit of sensation away, and fussing with the condom, if you're struggling with PIED as well, can make it difficult to maintain an erection in that moment, but it's not worth getting a disease over or getting someone pregnant who you're just having a casual relationship with. If you're in a more long-term relationship and you can, she's on birth control or you're having sex with someone and you know that a baby is not going to happen, then having sex without a condom in that circumstance is fine. But either way, it's not going to stop you from recovery. And the best situation that you can be in, especially if you're struggling with PIED as well, which I don't know that you are, is to be in a more long-term relationship with someone who's completely aware of your history and the problem that you're struggling with. So you don't have to worry as well about what will I say to this person if it doesn't work, or if I'm not able to reach orgasm, or if it's not feeling right. You don't have to worry about that because they already know everything. Hey Noah, I'm 20 years. I've been consuming porn for 20 years. I go to a spa. Okay, so you pay for sex workers and your erection isn't strong and it stresses you out. I've been doing NoFap since 2023. I'm in a healthy relationship and I plan to get married the next year or 2 years, but I'm afraid of PIED after I get married. How can I cure this? I'm not sure I completely understand everything that you wrote. Sounds like English might be your second language, but if you've been doing NoFap since 2023, and that means you haven't been using any pornography substitutes, maybe it means too that you haven't been masturbating at all since then, and you have been rewiring, trying sex in that time, that qualifies as a longer recovery period. Anything past a year, it's in the longer recovery period. It doesn't mean that you can't recover or that there's no hope for you, but I think it's time that you talk with someone about, is there something I'm doing that's holding me back? Is there something I'm not doing that I should be doing? And so if you want to talk to me personally, and so I really need to hear a lot more about your story, and that I can only do if we're in a one-on-one call or at least an email consultation where I can really understand exactly what you've been doing over the last couple of years, that maybe what you are doing or what you're not doing is holding you back from being able to have successful sex consistently. Or, it could be that you're doing everything right and you're just one of those people for whom it takes longer. I've seen people recover after 2 years, even 3 years, being completely porn-free, like doing everything right, and it just took a long time for them. Some people fall into very long flat lines, and it just takes them more time than it takes the average person in recovery. Would solo play involving a fetish be considered a relapse or a setback? Let's say, for example, that somebody has a fetish for covering themselves in chocolate or something similar and decides consciously and not impulsively to do so at a certain time alone while masturbating and all that stuff. Would that be considered a relapse? Is it somewhat better or worse than regular masturbation? I truly have no idea of the impact something like that could have on the recovery process, and it would be really useful if you could shine some light onto it. So, what counts as a relapse is a question only you can answer for yourself, because everyone has different boundaries and different things that they know or have discovered are harmful for them and feed into their addiction, and different things that they know do not. For some, masturbating at all would be a relapse. For many others, it would not. And it can also depend on the time in your recovery. Maybe you decide, for this 30 days, I'm committed to no masturbation. And so doing so would be a relapse within that time. But after that, I'm going to reintroduce masturbation. Or maybe it's, masturbating once a week is within my boundaries, but masturbating more than that would be considered a relapse or a setback of some sort. So only you can really answer that part of your question. As for engaging in a fetish, that is complex. If it's something that you acquired only through years of consistent pornography use and you escalated to that because of your pornography use and the way that that pornography exposure affected your brain, then and you have distress about it, then I often recommend that people not engage with that, at least for sufficiently long enough to fully recover and understand what their new normal is going to be now that they're not using porn. And then they can decide, do I want this fetish or this kink to be a part of my life or not? And they can start experimenting with that. If it's a fetish or a kink that doesn't cause you distress, or it's not something you acquired through your porn use, it just feels like a natural part of you, then I think it's fine to engage with that. Generally speaking, like if it's something that's dangerous to yourself or others, of course the answer might change. But if we're talking about covering yourself in chocolate, then I'm sure that's a fine thing to do. But I will caution that you probably don't want to rely on that in order to feel sexual pleasure and arousal. And if it starts to get to that point where masturbating without it is very difficult, then I recommend backing off on it and allowing yourself to resensitize and being moderate in how much you engage with that fetish. It should ideally be a side dish of your sex life and not the main course that you have to have every time in order to be satisfied. I've been on this reboot journey for about a year now, and I've been in the flat line ever since. Looking back, I think I was in a flat line long before I even started this journey. Reboot is successful in a sense that I feel a lot more stable and happy. People notice the changes in me. Still zero libido though. I do get instantly hard when I kiss someone. However, I literally have an orgasm within a second of sex, and my flatline deepens heavily after every orgasm, where I feel like I have to start from zero again. I even did 3 months without orgasm, hoping it would make a difference. During the first 10 or 11 months, I was still using substitutes like Instagram and dating apps. I've stopped this recently, and I notice a lot less urges and more calmness in my brain. Could the use of these substitutes have been the reason why I'm in such a long flatline and never fully healed? And could this be the final stretch of it? I also heavily improved my diet and quit social drinking recently. So you've been on the reboot journey for a year now, but for most of that time, 10 or 11 months, you were still using substitutes like Instagram and dating apps. You didn't say if you were masturbating to those substitutes or just looking at them and getting a sexual charge, but either way, that can absolutely slow down recovery and hold you back from getting out of a flat line. But there's some things you say that are at odds with you being in a flat line as well. Like you said, you get instantly hard when you kiss someone, which I would not necessarily expect from someone in a flatline. So I'd probably need to talk to you to understand what your definition of a flatline is and what are the flatline symptoms that you're experiencing that make you think I'm in a flatline. I'm not saying that you're not. I'm just saying that that is at odds with my usual experience of what people say they feel like when they are in a flatline. And that you have an orgasm very quickly. It sounds like you can get to that point of peak excitement very quickly, which is also at odds with someone who's in a flatline and feeling no libido, no sexual excitement. And I would ask you, if I was on a call with you, like what if like the very next day after having an orgasm, when you say the flatline symptoms deepen, are you still able to get hard immediately on kissing, and are you still have that premature ejaculation? So your question and your situation is nuanced. I'd have to talk to you more to really give you good advice. But I will say that using substitutes like that, especially for the vast majority of your recovery time, can absolutely have a negative impact. I don't have hopes of finding a girlfriend. What's wrong with watching porn? Well, I'm not here to convince anyone necessarily that they shouldn't be watching porn if they want to be watching porn. Uh, you're here, though, so that tells me that you, at least a part of you, probably thinks that your porn use might be harmful to you. And there are all sorts of harms that porn can have on us, not just in our sex life or in our relationships. People who tend to use porn a lot and are hooked on it, their whole lives are affected. They might have the lessened ability to focus in the rest of their lives, a lessened ability to feel joy or pleasure from other things in their lives because their brain has become desensitized to pleasure from the overuse of super normal stimuli like pornography. So they might not have joy in the same hobbies they used to enjoy, like playing music or hanging out with friends or being creative, writing, drawing, sports, working out. Or they might have less ambition and less ability to focus on improving their lives because they're distracted and their brain is constantly nudging them to just go use porn instead of working on their business or whatever other things. And absolutely, even if you're not in a position now to attract a woman or to get a girlfriend, if that's something that you do want in the future, using porn or overusing porn and staying in the addiction to porn can hold you back from working on yourself and becoming a more attractive person and becoming someone for whom being in a relationship is possible. So even if it's not something that's an option for you right now, if you want that in the future, probably lowering your porn use or stopping your porn use is going to help empower your future self to live that kind of life that you want. Now, I don't know for you how deep you are into the porn and how much damage it's caused you, but if you're here in this stream, I'm just imagining that it has caused you harm. I'm the betrayed partner who found dating apps, sexting, and social media comments and chats recently on my partner's phone. My partner's preferred sex position is from behind, and getting him to engage in foreplay or other sexual intimacy has fallen on deaf ears. Sex is now predictable. Bends me over, slaps some spit on me, and penetration. For most of our relationship, I accepted this, as I was just grateful that he was able and willing to have sex, and I believed it was use it or lose it. Now, after discovery, and the likelihood that cheating was happening, at least intermittently, the entire relationship, and reading the first half of your book, I'm feeling like he's objectifying me, and sex has become an act rather than a shared expression of pleasure and intimacy. What do you think? I'm feeling like he disrespected me and our relationship by cheating, and now this is a double whammy that he's disrespecting me in person. He claims he used these apps and women to escape. He's very stressed, anxious, and sad, and maybe pretend to be someone else. You mentioned escapism and stress in your book. Is it the physical release of masturbation that's the escape, or is it the porn that's the escape and the physical excitement is a secondary benefit? Or is this too in the weeds and doesn't matter? So, I'm sorry that you are in this position. It sounds like your partner, your husband or boyfriend, is probably hooked on pornography and maybe other sexual activities as well as an extension of that. And the fact that he uses it to deal with stress or anxiety is absolutely normal and to be expected. Anyone who's addicted to something isn't just using it because it feels good. They're using it as a means of emotional regulation, as a means of escaping or numbing or avoiding feeling or facing those uncomfortable feelings that come up in life. And that's not an excuse. Like, it sounds like he hid things from you. He maybe lied to you directly. He certainly, hid things that he knew you would disapprove of and that would hurt you. And that is the definition of cheating that I go by in a relationship. So if you don't make very clear that that is unacceptable and that you are willing to leave this relationship if it doesn't change, it probably won't change. And even if you do that, he might not change. He might say that he'll change. He might promise you that he will. and then he might continue doing those behaviors immediately or after a few weeks or a few months. And that could be part, intentional and conscious choice, and it can be part, he's addicted, and an addict doesn't have full control over their actions when it relates to whether or not they use. But they do have control over whether or not they're honest about it. And yeah, it sounds like a rough part of your relationship, and it may end. And that might be the best thing for both of you. Maybe that'll be the wake-up call he needs to turn his own life around and address his addiction to porn or sex. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you two will end up in a happy, healthy relationship together. Or you can, if you face this together, get through it together. And I've seen couples reach a point of healing in the recovery journey where they have a stronger, more trusting, more honest relationship than ever before. So that's possible as well. But you need to be very honest with yourself about what you're willing to accept in your relationship and what your boundaries are that would cause you to walk away. As for your last question, I think you are a little bit too in the weeds there. It's a combination. It's not just the physical release of orgasm. It's also, it's a whole compendium of different feelings, probably, that he craves in pornography. It's the novelty, it's the rush of being able to have control over these sexual experiences. Maybe it's the validation of chatting with other women and saying like, oh, like they want me, I'm able to arouse these other women, and that boosts his ego. And it's the validation that he craves from a childhood where he felt unseen by women and girls. It's probably a multitude of things that he finds in pornography and in these other behaviors that keep him hooked, not just the physical pleasure or the physical excitement. So, follow up from the gentleman who is planning to get married in the next 2 years or so. He says, I no fap for 30 days, relapse and binge. No fap 45 days, relapse and binge. Now 7 days clean. Okay. All right. So you've been attempting no fap since 2023, but you've been relapsing and binging throughout that period. Well, that makes more sense. And yeah, in that case, I wouldn't have expected you to make much progress in your PIED recovery. Really, the most important thing is to stay porn-free. And if you haven't been able to do that, you need to do whatever you got to do. Get whatever help and support you need in order to stay porn-free so that your body has a chance and your brain has a chance to heal. If, this upcoming marriage and this relationship and having a healthy sex life is important to you, which I imagine it is, then you need to do what you got to do and find the help and support that you need in order to really become free from porn and stop this cycle. Because trying the same things over and over, telling yourself, I'll do better next time, without actually making concrete changes to your approach is not going to work. I've seen people do that and stay stuck in that cycle for years or decades. And I'm not saying any of this to shame you or say that you've done a bad job so far. Not at all. You are here, which means that you're open to help and you're seeking guidance, and that's a great thing. And I'm just telling you, you got to keep on that journey. And look in the link tree down below in the description of this video for more resources and start making changes, start experimenting with this recovery journey. Ask yourself and be honest with yourself about what you might really need to do, and you might need to do some uncomfortable or difficult things like opening up to people in your life and asking for help, installing accountability software on your devices, joining a support group like the one that I run or a 12-step support group. And those things can take time, they can take energy, they can be uncomfortable, they can be embarrassing, but it's worth it if this upcoming marriage and a healthy sex life is very important to you. All that is worth it. If possible, can you give me an estimated time period for me to get normal again? By normal, I mean after quitting porn and masturbation, how long would it take for me to get erections like I used to have before PIED? So most people who are able to stick to the guidelines of being porn-free, not using porn substitutes, if they're masturbating, doing it in moderation, see very significant progress within 90 days and full recovery within 1 year. And without knowing a lot more details about you, all I can give you is that general expectation. Some people see progress faster. Some people are in a long flat line, and it takes them more time to see progress. Hey Noah, if I'm 2.5 months in and a girl is sending me naughty videos on Snapchat, will it stuff up my recovery and put me back? I'm seeing some slight results at the moment. So that's definitely a gray area, and especially early on in your recovery before you're starting to have real intimacy, real rewiring, real sex, that is definitely something that can be dangerous, especially if you're lingering on that or you're touching yourself to it, you're masturbating to it. If you're able to just quickly see it and like, well, that was nice, and then move on and not like go deeper into that and let it become the top of a slippery slope, then it's probably fine. Especially if this is someone who you're building up to meeting up with in real life and having a real life intimate experience with, then it could just increase your excitement for her in real life. And if that's the case, then it's fine. But if it's otherwise, if you're never going to actually meet up in real life, or if it's causing you to touch yourself or to go deeper or to trigger you to go back to porn or just to fantasize or watch that video and masturbate to it a lot, then it could be holding you back. Porn-free for a year. ED has improved. I can have sex and stay hard, but my libido still feels low unless things get intimate. Not sure if it's mental or part of the healing. Yeah, it's hard to know if you've fully reached your new normal or not, except in retrospect from very long out. So in 6 months, you might find yourself more spontaneously sexually interested, and your libido is even stronger than it is now. Or you might discover that this is what a healthy sex life looks like for you. That now that you're not artificially stoking your sex drive all the time by looking at pornography and giving your brain those blasts of sexual novelty and explicit imagery, that you're not just randomly feeling that sexual energy all the time, and you only feel it when you're in the situation in real life, when you're starting to be intimate. And that can be an advantage. That can mean that you have more attention and energy to give to the other parts of your life. And when it's appropriate, you're able to have and enjoy sex, which could be a good thing. I know I have anxiety about sex, that when I get recovered, I might not be able to satisfy a partner. Because unlike in real life, women are exaggerating everything in porn. So far, I've been trying to find peace and train my brain for many months that everything will be okay in the future, but nothing works for my anxiety. The only solution I see to find peace is to completely ignore that sex even exists and avoid thinking about sexual things until I get recovered. But the problem is I worry that I will not recover if I reject this performance anxiety, and if I stop thinking about sex without fixing that negative thoughts about sex first, so I don't know what to do. Can I still stop thinking about sex and women? It sounds like you're definitely overthinking and you're getting yourself into anxious thought loops that are causing you a lot of distress. I'll tell you that. The best way to deal with that stress is to accept that it's okay if I get into a relationship or I start dating someone and I try sex and it doesn't work. Because you need to build the skills to be able to communicate with a partner about what you're going through and why this is happening. And if you can do that and know that if I try sex or if I'm building up to being intimate with someone, I can talk about this. And no matter how my body reacts, it doesn't have to hurt me. Like I can handle it because I have built the skills to understand what's going on and communicate about what's going on. And the person that I'm getting closer to, like maybe she'll be interested in helping me get through this, helping me heal and get more comfortable with sex. Maybe she won't. Either way, like that's her decision. It's not up to me. It's up to me to communicate well about what's going on for me. And if you can have that attitude where you're not attached to the expectation that the first time you try sex, it has to work, or like it's gonna be the end of the world, then you can let go of that anxiety, because whatever the outcome is, you can handle it. It's just a matter of time before you're able to have healthy sex, and you can get there one way or the other. So if you can adopt that mindset, it will help you immensely. I have a video on this channel called How to Overcome Sexual Performance Anxiety. Highly recommend you check that video out. Hey Noah, do you have any advice about overcoming the chaser effect after relapsing? Yeah, so chaser effect is a very common thing to experience if you've been without sexual stimulation or orgasm for a while, and then you have an orgasm, whether it's with masturbation, with porn, or even with a partner. For a few days after that, you might have increased libido and increased urges. Being aware of that process and of that danger is the first step to handling the chaser effect. Second step would be to have in mind ways to deal with urges and with that libido when it comes. So building those skills of mindfulness, for instance, being able to recognize what you're feeling and take a step back instead of getting swept away by that feeling and going straight into action, just observing it from a distance within yourself. And you can look up mindfulness and meditation and practice that skill, which will help immensely. It's like literally the inverse of addiction is mindfulness. In addiction, you feel something and you act on it. You feel the impulse and you act on it. You might have the little voice inside your head that's saying, no, I shouldn't do this, but you're still acting on it. Practicing mindfulness is the complete opposite of that. It's building that skill of feeling those feelings, feeling those impulses, and just observing them from a distance and not acting on them. And the more you build that skill, the more you'll be able to handle those addictive impulses and urges when they come. It can also help to have a specific plan for how to handle urges. So once you recognize it, maybe your plan is, okay, I'm going to mindfully observe it for 5 minutes or whatever. Or maybe your plan is, like, as soon as I observe that that's happening, I'm going to go splash some cold water on my face, and then I'm going to go outside and spend at least 10 minutes outside. That your plan can be as simple as that. And that can prevent 90% or more of relapses. Just giving yourself that time to let your brain change state. The cold water on the face can be an emotional reset, and so can getting out under the open sky, outside of your room, away from a screen, can help your brain emotionally reset. You calm back down and the urge has passed. How do you respond to people who retort when pornography is brought up that anything can be addictive? Well, me personally, I'm not in the business of convincing people that pornography is addictive or harmful. I'm in the business of helping people who know that pornography use has harmed them in some way. So that's my focus. I don't try too hard to convince others. I'm not up on the debate stage arguing about whether pornography can be addictive or not, or it's harmful or not. Maybe I did some of that in the past, but not really at this point in my career. But if I was in a conversation about that, then I'll say, yeah, a lot of things can become addictive, but pornography is a more common thing for people to develop an addiction to because it taps into a very powerful innate drive within us of sex. And because it is available in unlimited quantities, unlimited variety, and for free, and from a very young age for a lot of people, it ends up hooking a lot more people than other things that might be addictive. I don't know what example they would use, what random example, woodworking. Another hallmark of addiction that a lot of people don't understand consciously is that in order for something to be an addiction, it has to be causing significant harm in your life. So people might colloquially say, oh, I'm addicted to knitting or something. But if it's not actually causing significant harm in their life, it's just a hobby that they really enjoy and they keep going back to and they're thinking about a lot, it's not actually an addiction. It's just a way of saying that they're really fixated on that. So most people don't understand what the word addiction even means. And unless it's someone who's in your life, like your partner or your family member, I wouldn't worry too much about convincing them. And even better than telling them all this yourself, if they're willing to sit down and watch a video with you and then have a discussion based on that, then watch one of my videos where I explain the process of addiction, or watch, the original Gary Wilson TED Talk from 2013 or 2012, something like that. watch a video that opened your eyes to all this together with that person, and then have a discussion based on that. Hi Noah, I'm on NoFap for years. I follow you, I bought your courses, and your videos help me. I cured PIED, but I can't find a girlfriend for a very long time. I installed dating apps. One girl from there called me on my phone and said that she wanted sex with me, and I came without touching my penis. I had 2 similar situations when I was texting with girls. I didn't want that communication, but I was horny, and when they started to talk about sex, I came without touch. I plan to block every girl who starts to talk about sex. Anyway, I have problems with performance anxiety. Sometimes I call an escort because I can't find a girl. I used, I don't know what that is, super Kamagra in this situations because of my anxiety. Maybe it's like an aphrodisiac or a Viagra type thing. Last night I called an escort and I took that, but I didn't have a full erection. I came when she touched me, and after that I couldn't do anything. But I'm afraid of my incidents with dating apps. Did PIED return to me, and did I ruin all progress with a few incidents? I'm afraid I ruined everything, and I'm afraid to meet girls because I maybe must wait to recover again. Please answer, I must know. All right, so it sounds like you're at a point in your recovery where you're very sensitive. I don't know if you're masturbating or not. You should look up my video about premature ejaculation for more tips about how to deal with premature ejaculation. I don't think, it sounds like you're kind of you're putting yourself between a rock and a hard place here because you want sex and you want to be able to rewire. But if you're talking with someone that you met on a dating app and they bring up sex, you block them because you don't want to get too excited just by that connection over a device. Honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Like if you have an orgasm involuntarily just because you're excited from talking to a woman that you might have a sexual connection with, I wouldn't view that as a relapse. I wouldn't worry about that too much. I would look at my video about dealing with premature ejaculation and what you can do about that. But yeah, I would say it's going to be best for you, like it is for most people, to try to find a connection with someone where you feel comfortable enough to open up and tell her what you're going through. And some women are not going to be interested in dealing with that, not going to be interested in helping you. And I know that probably hurts and feels like rejection, but you're going to have to get over that. And eventually you'll find someone who is interested in continuing to connect with you and helping you through that. Some women even find it charming that you get so excited by them that you come really quickly. If that happens long term, of course, it's probably not going to result in a satisfying sex life. But if you find someone like that who is willing to continue connecting with you on this and work with you on this, it's going to be so much easier to practice and to rewire and to recover with a steady partner who understands what you're going through and wants to support you through that. And that's the only way I think that you're really going to overcome this and rebuild your confidence is with a steady partner that you can practice rewiring with and practice intimacy with over time. I find the idea of going completely without PMO forever so daunting. I've been successfully doing a once a week thing for a while now, and a lot of my problems have disappeared. But I hear from your talks that intermediate use, I think you mean intermittent use, is actually bad, and training myself to look forward to the next hit. And I definitely see the logic in that, even though this controlled use is much better than just binging whenever I want. Going forward, should I increase the time in between usage? I'm aiming for a month PMO free. I'm on day 15 now, and not many urges. I've actually already tried cold turkey many times and failed and end up binging. Doing a weekly thing now for about a year, and the intermediate use has been a lot better for me, and a lot of my problems are gone or 90% gone. Now pushing to a month free, and unsure if I should do it once a month from now on or what. So every person is in charge of their own journey, number one. And if what you're doing is working for you and the problems that cause you distress are completely gone or 90% gone, who am I to tell you that you shouldn't be doing what's working for you, right? If I were in your position, a problem that would cause me distress is the knowledge that I'm still unable to control my own decisions in my sex life. Like if I decided to be completely porn free, I wouldn't be able to do it. Like that in and of itself would cause me distress if I was in your position. And so I would want to learn how and make progress toward breaking free of that and being able to make that decision and stay porn free. And you might also discover that if you are porn free for a long period of time, that things get even better for you than you expected. Like you might say that my problems are gone or 90% gone, but you might have problems that you don't even realize are caused by porn that might get better with long enough being porn free. I don't know that that's true for sure, but that was true for me. And that the problems that caused me to want to quit my porn use were not the only problems caused by my porn use. And I found unexpected benefits along the way of recovery. You might find the same if you are able to go completely porn free. But if what you're doing is working for you, of like the intermittent use, or I wouldn't necessarily call that intermittent use in the same way I talk about it in my other videos. This is more like scheduled use. It's regular use, but it's scheduled. And you are gradually tapering it off. And maybe, you're doing it once a week now, and maybe you should change that to once every 10 days, and then once every 2 weeks, and then once a month. And if you can continue to do that for long enough, then you might get to the point where you just feel like you don't need it anymore at all. And if that is the approach that's working for you now, I would say keep doing it and keep just pushing it a little bit more and a little bit more over time. Because one of the most important things to know about addiction is that the more you fail, the harder it becomes. So if you commit, I'm never going to use porn again, and you relapse, and then you say like, okay, well, I'm really mean at this time, I'm never going to use porn again. Then 2 weeks go by and you relapse and you binge. Every time that happens, every time you make a promise to yourself or a commitment, or you set a boundary and then you cross that boundary, you fail, you fall down. Unlike in other parts of life, you don't get stronger, you actually get weaker. Like if you go to the gym, you're going to the gym 3 times a week, and every time you're like, okay, I'm going to lift I'm going to bench 150 pounds today. I'm going to do it. And you're building up to it, and you can't get there. Well, every failure is actually making you stronger, and you're more likely the next time to succeed. But addiction recovery doesn't work like that. Every failure actually tends to make people weaker, and they get less and less able to control themselves the more they violate their own boundaries. And one antidote to that is to set your boundaries not at your ideal that you eventually want to be, but at a more forgiving area, like you have done. Like, I'm not going to masturbate more than once a week. I'll masturbate once a week to porn. And that's a boundary that if you can stick to that, you can start rebuilding your confidence and your ability to trust yourself and to control your own behavior and to set your own boundaries and stick to them. And you build that momentum. And so then you change that boundary to a little bit more. I'm only going to do it once every 10 days. Then I'm only going to do it once every 2 weeks. And you can continue widening it that way. Now, it's not necessary for everyone to do it that way, but if that's working for you, I would continue to lean into that. Glad to report I'm still going strong, no PMO. Coming up 8 months now. I'm writing this message because I need some advice. So I live with a health condition that limits my energy levels and what I can do. The health condition is also the main reason I've been unable yet to find a partner and start the process of rewiring. However, I feel I've made significant progress in 8 months. With being at home a lot, I need to keep occupied, and video games are a passion of mine. One of my symptoms of my health condition is anxiety and hyperarousal, and I've noticed that when I game, I feel increased arousal and often get a groinal response that comes with it. Although the game I play is completely non-sexual, this has always concerned me. In your knowledge of recovery from PIED, are groinal responses caused by arousal in video games anything to worry about? Would you put a limit on how much I should play? I average maybe 4 hours a day. So I don't know what the health condition is that you're living with, because you didn't tell me. So I don't know if I've had other clients who've had that particular health condition. My gut tells me it's not really something to worry about, especially if it's like just an involuntary feeling that you're having and you're not engaging with it, you're not touching yourself to it, you're not using video games as a sexual stimuli. It's just something that happens. I would imagine it's not going to hold you back. Now, of course, I encourage people as much as possible to find their solace, to find their fun and their relaxation away from screens. Because the more you rely on screens to meet your needs, even if it's something non sexual like a video game or watching movies or TV or YouTube, the more you do that, the more you're teaching yourself to rely on a screen to fulfill your emotional needs. And among your emotional needs is the need for intimacy, the need for sexual stimulation. And when you're especially just following your impulses of like, oh, I want to play a video game now, oh, I want to go to YouTube now, and just following your impulses while you're using a screen, one of those impulses might suddenly be, oh, I want to see some sexual content. And it can put you in a vulnerable place to do that. But if that's not happening and you really want to keep video games in your life, I don't think it's going to hold you back from recovering. Damn, haven't seen you in long months, Noah. Well, I try to do these once a month. Might be like 5 or 6 weeks sometimes between streams, but yeah, I try to do these lives once a month. I'm 6 months in and able to have sex. After every orgasm, I have weeks of brain fog, lethargy, and a disconnected feeling. Is this part of it? Did 2 months hard mode and had sex a few times afterwards. So some people are more sensitive to the after effects of orgasm than others. This can improve with more time in recovery. You might find that in another year, you have very little after effects, like maybe you just feel that way for a day or two, or maybe you don't feel it at all. But it is pretty normal for those after effects to be quite severe in this stage of recovery. One thing that you can do aside from just abstaining and doing hard mode is to practice Karezza style sex. That's Karezza, if you want to look it up. And it's an approach to sex where orgasm is off the table. And if you can learn how to practice that type of sex, you can still enjoy sexual intimacy without inviting those after effects of orgasm. Having been addicted to porn for 30 years and it's been 10 months since I last watched porn, I have no desire to watch it anymore. However, I still feel numb and my penis is shrunken and lifeless. Nothing seems to get me excited. I'm not enthusiastic about anything. How long does this usually last? I do get aroused when I see an attractive woman and have fantasies about them. Yeah, it sounds like you might be in some level of long flatline, which is fairly common. I would say most people in recovery experience a flatline, but it's a minority of those who experience a very long flatline, 6 months or more in length. But it's not rare or anything. I still talk to a lot of guys who have long flatlines. And time is the most important factor. And I know it feels like it's going to last forever. It feels like it's been a long time already. But if you compare the amount of time you've been porn free to the amount of years you were using porn, it's not actually that long. And hopefully in the next few months, next 6 months, maybe the next year, you'll notice that flatline easing on its own and you'll come out of it and you'll feel different and you'll feel more engaged with your life again, not just with your sexuality, but with other emotions that you feel. Because it sounds like from what you wrote that you're not enthusiastic about anything. I imagine that applies not just to sexual things, which is common as well in flatline. Now, it is possible that you're, like I mentioned earlier, doing something or not doing something that's holding you back. So if you want to talk with me personally, you can book coaching with me from the link tree down below, and we can talk in depth about your situation, and I might spot something there that you could do differently to help yourself get through this faster. What's the difference between nofap and semen retention? Which one is better for curing? So nofap itself is like an umbrella term, and it's a subreddit and it's an organization. Like there's nofap.org. Like nofap is a nonprofit company, I believe. So what nofap means is kind of up to each person and in their own mind. It's not a very specific term. Semen retention means that you are, as much as possible, retaining your semen. You're not ejaculating. You might still be having sex. You might still be masturbating, but you're not getting to that point of ejaculation. Semen retention itself, it's not something that I believe in very much. Like I'm open to the possibility of it having benefits, but I think for the vast majority of people, it's not, like I have not seen evidence that it is very beneficial in and of itself. Now, it doesn't mean that you should just be spooging as much as possible. That can certainly have harmful effects, especially if you're doing so with pornography. But most people don't need to practice semen retention to live fulfilling great lives or to have enjoyable sex lives. Now, as for what's the difference between the two, it really depends on how you're defining NoFap for you. Some people think of NoFap as no masturbation, no porn use. Some people think of it as if I can use porn, but if I don't fap, if I don't masturbate, then it's still NoFap. Like everyone has a different opinion of what it means. Which is better for cured? I don't know what you're asking. Cure what? Like cure PIED or cure addiction or cure what? 4 months of NoFap. There is a void in my heart. All that I do, I usually try filling the void. How do I go about this? Because it has really held me back. And also, how do I cultivate motivation? Yeah, when you take away something that you've been relying on emotionally for a long time, like any addiction becomes, it leaves a void. And you have to learn how to fill that void and how to process emotions that you were used to processing or avoiding with porn or other addictions. And that takes time, and it can be uncomfortable. It can be painful, but you're not alone in that. And you can learn how to fill that void and how to meet your emotional needs in healthier ways. So put yourself out into the world, try new things, pick up old hobbies that you haven't touched in a while, journal, join a support group and talk about this with other people. Just put yourself into life and you'll discover on your own how you can better fill that void and better meet your needs over time. 4 months in is a great start, but there's still more of the journey to go. So don't think that this is how you feel right now is how you're going to feel for the rest of your life. Hey Noah, thanks for all your help over all these years. I have a foot fetish porn issue, and I feel like it's affecting my normal sex. I tried to rewire myself, but have been unsuccessful. So yeah, one of my recent videos on this channel was about kinks and fetishes and whether or not we can rid ourselves of them, like how to no longer be a slave to them. And as I said in that video, especially if it is something that was developed through years of porn use, it's something that you escalated to only after years of escalation in porn, then it is possible for that thing to become something that no longer holds any appeal for you through the process of recovery. But if your foot fetish has always been with you, that's something that was peak interest for you from early on in your sexual development, then it's probably always going to be a part of your sexual template. But it doesn't have to dominate every single sexual encounter you have. It can be, like I said earlier in the stream, more of a side dish thing, an appetizer. Especially if you have a partner who's down for that, and I'd say most people would probably be willing to indulge that. It can be a part of your sex life, and it can be a healthy part of your sex life, as long as you don't let it become the only thing that can bring you pleasure. And if you start noticing that, which it sounds like maybe you have noticed, then it's time to maybe give yourself just more time being completely celibate. And then when you do start to rewire and practice intimacy and have sex, focus on finding pleasure from other means of intimacy than focusing on your fetish. My situation is that I've rebooted hard mode for 200 plus days and started attempting intimacy once a week. I didn't feel anything at first, but on attempts 2 to 5, I felt a bit of arousal, and I've gotten to the semi-hard stage where it gets bigger but only goes horizontal rather than vertical. So I started feeling some arousal in response to real-life intimacy, but I haven't had even one strong erection in 1.5 months of trying. So should I continue having these attempts, or do I need more time? Like, am I helping or hurting my recovery by doing this? Better advice than saying you should wait this long or you should be abstinent for this many days or this many weeks is to learn how to listen to your own body. And it's fine to put yourself in those situations where you can rewire as long as you feel free and able to, if your body isn't feeling it, if your body is telling you, hey, I'm not ready for this, that you can put a stop to it. And you don't feel like you have to push yourself to continue forward and push yourself to maintain your erection and reach orgasm. Because if you do that, it can be harmful because you're pushing your body past what it's ready to do. It's like you have an injury, like an ankle injury, and you're going on the run. You're like testing it out. You're going on a little run. Like if you're able to start out slow and like listen to your body and feel how it feels, it's like, oh yeah, I still feel it, but it's feeling better to put some weight on my ankle and to start using it, then that's fine. But if it starts hurting you in that way that like, oh, I think I'm making things worse, it's important to be able to stop and to give it some more rest. Instead of saying like, no, I've already committed to this run. I've got 5 more miles. I got to keep pushing, because then you're just going to make the injury worse. So learn how to listen to your body and honor your body. And it's fine to put yourself in those situations. And if you are noticing that your body is like, hey, I'm not ready for sex, I'm not ready to maintain an erection, you can still find other ways to enjoy that experience that don't involve an erection. So, massage each other, cuddle, kiss, find other ways to enjoy that experience and have a good time that don't rely on an erection. I remember you said that the Coolidge effect gets worse the more the person leans into it, and I'm trying to avoid that. I have 2 women that are willing to help me with rewiring. One of them is more attractive, while the other one is more of my type. I've had better arousal during the intimacy with the one that is more of my type, and I think I could recover faster with her. But I'm currently having intimacy with the more attractive one because I don't want to miss out. I'm worried that if I start switching between the 2 of them, I'll be leaning into it. How much time should I allow between intimacy with different women so that I'm not leaning into it? I know there's no exact answer to this, but I'm hoping you can give me your best guess. I'd say that as long as it's understood between you and these women that it's casual, or they're aware that you're seeing someone else and they're okay with it, and that you don't have a history of sex addiction rather than porn addiction and problematic porn use, that just go for it. Just go with it. Just keep, if you're enjoying yourself, and I wouldn't worry too much about leaning into the Coolidge effect and relying on it at this point. Just enjoy yourself, practice intimacy, and follow your desires and don't overthink it. It would be my advice to you. If addiction, okay. All right, the way this is written is kind of hard to read. I'm just going to interpret it. I've been addicted to porn for almost 20 years. I have PIED. I'm 30 years old. I have anxiety. How many days do I need in order to recover? I'm in a relationship too. So, as I said earlier, my general answer to this question is most people, if they're able to stay porn free, they're able to stay free of porn substitutes, then they're going to see very significant progress within 90 days and full recovery from PIED within a year. That's most people. You're in a relationship, which is great, especially if they know all about what you're going through and they're supportive and wanting to help out. Same as the advice for the last person. Listen to your body. If your body is telling you, hey, I'm not ready, don't give in to pressure that you're putting on yourself, or maybe pressure from your partner to push for it and make sex happen before your body is ready. If you feel like you are not ready to try intercourse for the first couple months, you don't need to. Give yourself time, cultivate patience in yourself and in your relationship about this process. And when, put yourself in those situations where you're naked together and you're cuddling and you're giving yourself your body the chance to become aroused. And if you're feeling it, you're feeling good, then yeah, go for it. And then 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later, if you're not feeling it anymore, or you're stuck in an anxiety loop in your head, you're overthinking things, you're thinking more about your own body and your erection than enjoying yourself, then call it off, take a break, talk. Give yourself the time Give yourself patience. And, I don't know hardly anything about you, but just from what you wrote, you're going to be fine. You're going to recover if you're dealing with PIED. As long as you are able to stay porn free. If you're not able to do that, then all that other stuff goes out the window and you need more help and support. After 1 year of trying no PMO and many, many relapses, I finally developed a kind of utter hatred to pornography. These last months have been very good for me, and I'm already 2 months clean. Hey, whatever works, man. Powerful emotions like anger or hatred can be good launch points, good ways for us to get some time porn free. And in that time where you're porn free and it's feeling easy and the urges aren't there, also work on those other things like how can I process the emotions that used to push me to porn in new and healthy ways? How can I fill up my life in ways that will replace how I was using porn? If you can do that, then you can maintain that momentum for the long term. I broke my leg and stayed in bed for 6 months. And in that time, I started to abuse myself like never before. I didn't have a problem with my partner and girlfriend, but after my recovery, I feel like a virgin again. So I'm guessing you mean after your recovery from having a broken leg, you feel like a virgin again because you're nervous about sex or like sex doesn't feel natural anymore? I'm guessing that's what you mean. And if you were, and by abusing yourself, if you mean you were using porn a lot and you were masturbating a lot because of your situation, because of being stuck in bed, like, one, that's perfectly understandable. And two, that can absolutely cause PIED, some level of PIED, now that you're recovered from your broken leg and maybe trying to have sex more frequently again. That's reversible. You can recover from it. I recommend reading my book for all the basic information. You can find the link to that below in the link tree as well. And if you need more help, you know where to come. All right, did I miss any questions in the chat? We're right at the hour, so perfect timing. I think I covered everything. Here's one. Nocturnal ejaculation is normal for NoFap. I'm in NoFap 30 days. I get nocturnal ejaculation. Yeah, it's perfectly normal. Nocturnal ejaculation is a natural thing, and it happens more frequently when you stop ejaculating as often when you're awake. Your body might still be used to having ejaculations more regularly, so it will happen at night. I wouldn't worry about it too much. All right, gentlemen. That's it for today. If you have more questions, feel free to send them to me in email. You can get my free PDF of my ebook down below, and that will put you on my email list. And then you can get alerts when these live streams are going to happen, and you can send me your questions beforehand. You can also find other ways to work with me and join that support and discussion group, which I think is supremely helpful for so many people, to have a team around you, to have people that you can talk to and check in with about recovery from porn addiction and porn related problems. Okay, one more question here. Porn free for a year. ED has improved. I can have sex and stay hard. Yeah, I did answer your question. I did answer your question earlier. Yeah, go back and look for that in the stream. All right, gentlemen. See you next time.